Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill DeMent, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning to you. How's it going?
Very, very good. So you guys just recorded a little bit ago a nice little podcast, Sans Me.
Yeah, we're doing a short series on the origins of Hole in the Wall.
Yeah.
And I went almost an hour when I spoke with Tyler. And it was interesting because there were parts of the story, that were kind of coming out that I haven't thought of in ages.
Right.
But he'll ask, and I'm going, okay, well, here's what, I didn't want to shellac anything or hide anything, just trying to be honest about, this is what it was.
Yeah.
This is what was happening, and here's how it all transpired from my foxhole. I mean, we all understand the world from our own foxhole, right?
Well, I can't wait to listen to it because I was not here, so I didn't hear any of it. So,
well, and nor shall I hear yours, which is going to begin in just the next few moments. But
yeah.
I'm sure it'll be a great listen, and I look forward to hearing it myself. And I want to just say thank you to Tyler for taking the time to host and to do this project with us.
I'm loving it. I get to press all the buttons, make sure I don't mess up the recording, and kick Bill out here shortly.
I know it's like I'm usually the one in control, but I get to kick back, relax.
Yeah.
Not in
And
control.
to peel the curtain back a little bit, we're doing these back to back. So we just finished up talking with Bill, which gives James about no time to listen to what Bill said.
Nope.
So now they're both fully authentic.
I've heard majority of his stories, but I'm sure there's some new ideas in there that I've heard. So.
I think there might be one or two things you hadn't heard.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, Bill,
All right. Well, good luck, fellas.
we'll see
All right.
you when it's over, but goodbye.
Fane. No, I want to stay. Let me stay.
Well, James, you just had to reach on over and fix my slider,
I
but
did. Well,
Bill's...
you pulled the wrong one down, and I pulled the wrong one down, so we were both wrong. So
It's beautiful. It's the life of learning this big, nice mixer, whatever you want to call it. But Bill's gone. We kicked him out. He tried to do a bit on the way out, and I ruined it for him, so that's all right.
good.
But through Bill's interview, conversation, whatever you want to call it, his bibliography, biography, whatever it's called, I feel like I know him better, and I'm hoping that's what's going to happen with you and I. And,
Sure.
And you and I interact a lot. We're in the same BNI. I'm in here all the time. You won't leave me alone,
Nope.
which I love. I don't want it any other way, but I'm hoping to also get a little more information from you on who you are.
Man, there's so much out there. I'm going to have to start thinking through the Rolodex of life, because I believe that we are a sum of all of our past events, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that God has put us where we are right now, but he's been guiding us and teaching us through. I'm 52 years old this year. I'll be 53 in September. And there's just so much of life. I've probably lived 3 or 4 lives. So being able to kind of go back down memory lane, that's can be kind of cool.
Yeah, and through both of you, I said this to Bill and I'll say it to you, selfishly being able to have worked my way in, weaseled my way in, whatever you want to call it, I get to then pick your brains. So I'll come to you with a question, a thought of something that has happened, anything it is, and there is some sort of, you might not have the exact answer, but there's some sort of guidance, advice, and I appreciate having that. And I appreciate that you guys do this every week because you're giving that out now. And not only to those that are surrounded to Hole in the Wall, but those starting their own business, currently in business, wanting to, what does it look like if type of things. It's just very valuable.
Yeah.
But you didn't get that from jumping in and knowing it all. You got that from starting out somewhere. What was your first job?
My very first job, believe it or not, I was I was 15 years old. My uncle had a drywall company in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I moved down to live with my biological mother, Kathy, and she would take me to and from, and I was a scrapper and a stalker at my uncle's drywall company. And I realized back then that, I was only there for like 3 months, just for the summer, but I realized what I did not want to do with the rest of my life, and that was be a drywaller. I wanted nothing to do with drywall.
I took a sip of water as you told me that, and it almost ended up all over your face because I feel like I've known that, but I didn't hold it with me. How?
No. Yeah, just because he used to do big big apartment buildings and like new construction.
The fresh installation
stuff.
Repair.
And I was what they call a scrapper and a stalker. So my crew was the ones who loaded all the drywall on the trucks to deliver to job sites. And then when all of the employees, they're done installing it, they had all this scrap. drywall and drywall mud boxes and junk. And then we would come back to scrap it all, so to the dumpster. Not a fun job. A lot of gross things happen on that job site. And I realized that I was working with ex-cons. I was working with, guys that had strippers as wives and girlfriends and, selling drugs on the side. And I was like, as a 15-year-old impressionable young man, I was like, this is what I don't want to do with the rest of my life. I don't want to be making, this little money and working with the dregs of society. And of course, fast forward, how many years now I'm owning my own drywall company. But that's why I like to call us the undrywall company. We are not the drywall company that it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have the direct comparison to one-to-one of what it could have been. It's almost like what's the Three Ghost movies, Scrooge, and you're seeing the life it could be, would be, all that. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah.
So you moved from, you're 15, working for the summer drywall company. What does after high school look like for you?
So I spent majority of my world through high school and beyond in the entertainment industry. I was in chorus all through middle school and high school. I would run the battle of the bands. I would always run sound, run lighting for big productions. And so my focus shifted completely over to, I wanted to be a roadie. I wanted to be a rock and roll roadie. I wanted to go on the road with bands, and got pictures of me growing my hair out into a mullet, big full beard. And, because when you were young, you had to look the part, and so I went to Full Sail graduated in 91. So I graduated high school in 90, went right from high school, didn't go through summer break, went right into Full Sail, where I learned recording arts. I learned how to do, pretty much everything from loading road cases to recording albums. And we got to record bands. We got to record, mixing sessions and shoot music videos and all that fun stuff. And so entertainment was kind of my life. Obviously my family being religious, I ended up actually working at a local church through college, through that Full Sail experience, where I was the sound guy, grew to technical director for Pine Castle Methodist Church for years, where I was just kind of, running the soundboard. That's Sunday mornings, that's special events, all of the different events that we would do. I think I calculated once I've run over 500 weddings.
Wow.
Run sound for over 500 weddings. Because every time there was a funeral or wedding, they needed someone to turn the microphones on, and that was me.
Yeah.
And I got to do that all through my Full Sail college experience. So I was able to then go and learn a technique, and then I was able to go back to my job where I could play with those techniques.
A little bit better, making a process.
Yeah.
So you get out of Full Sail and you jump right into.
So I went on tour with a couple of Christian bands. I was, of course, working at the church. And then I ended up working at a lighting company. It was called Bash Lighting back in the day. So I was probably 19 years old when I started there. And they ended up having, they would do lighting, but they would do lighting for like Broadway plays, for corporate events, completely different of rock and roll. So I always thought that rock and roll was the end all be all. And the reality is that there's no money in rock and roll, and there's a ton of money in the commercial industrial sector. So when IBM and AT&T want to have a show, those shows are ginormous, and they require audio, video, lighting. They require projectionists, and they require all kinds of stage managers and lots of load in, load outs. And so I started working in this lighting company. I worked in the cable department, and it was hot. I literally wore tank tops and bathing suits to work all day because I was just sweating all day long. When you think of an extension cord now, it's got 3 conductors, 12 gauge, hot, ground, and neutral. But we were working with multi-conductors. So one cable would have 6 or 12 cables in one.
Wow.
So you would take this big multi-connector and you would tie in these breakouts, male and female breakouts, and one cable then would turn into 6 or 12. Really heavy, but that's how you can get all the lights on those big metal trusses wired in faster.
Yeah.
And so I learned all the ins and outs of that. During that process, I became a member of the IATSE Stagehand Union, the International Alliance of Stage and Theatrical Employees. Okay. Which is a huge union. They've run everything from, the pipe and drape and carpet people at convention centers all the way up to movies, and everywhere in between. But it allowed me to get my card. And so when I worked through that Bash Lighting experience, I was there several years, got married, my first wife while I was there, and then eventually left that company and became a freelance technician through the union.
Okay. Where geographically are you at this point?
I'm in Orlando at that point. Yeah, they were here. Bash Lighting actually sold to Vanco Lighting, which then sold to PRG, which is now the second or third largest entertainment company in the world.
Wow.
But they've all been acquired by private equity and all those years ago. But so I've been in entertainment in Orlando pretty much. I was born in St. Pete, but I moved up here when I was in middle school.
Got it. So you're freelancing. How are you getting gigs? How are you staying busy?
Well, that's the cool thing is that when you're working through the union hall, these big companies come to town and I need 30 technicians. And it could be a 4-hour call or it could be a 4-day call. You just don't know.
Okay.
And there's many times that I was actually showing up for what I thought was going to be a 1-day call and it turned into 4 or 5 days. I remember we were doing a turnaround there was a dinner for IBM, a hotel here in Orlando, and they needed us to set up for a luncheon. And then we would set up for this, like a lunch, and then we had to wait. Lunch was over in about an hour and a half. They cleared out. Then we had to turn the room over because Donna Summer was coming to perform for the banquet that night. And so what I thought was going to be a 4-hour load ended up being like a 20+ hour shift. And then at the very end of load of the turnover, the union guy says, "Okay, James, get your jacket on, go." So you always had to have a pair of show blacks, and he had me crawling up the spotlight tower. And then I literally went straight from loading the job into now running a 4-hour show for the banquet in a spot tower. Back in the days when beepers were the big thing. And I remember my wife then, we had not been apart and we hadn't talked through the logistics of my new job.
Yeah.
And here, and she's 911ing me on my page or trying to hold me. She just she had no idea, And so finally I got a quick break at a half-hour, ran down, went to the restroom, called her on a payphone because there was no cell phones back then. And let her know I'm alive, Gotta go. She went right back up to the spotlight tower to finish
Donna
the show.
Summer's waiting for me. Gotta go.
I worked with so many of those up and coming and down and outs, we used to call them. So yeah, I did that for many years. I actually injured I was on the set of a Texaco commercial at Universal Studios, and I tripped and I tore the ACL in my left knee. And so then I had to get that fixed. But I ended up at the same time where I transitioned, where I started working over at Disney World as a temporary union employee, and I spent most of my time at a place that's no longer there. It's called Pleasure Island.
Okay, I've heard of it.
Yeah, and Pleasure Island was basically in the middle of right next to Disney Village back then, and there was no West Side back then. It was just Pleasure Island and Disney Village, and it was like a nighttime, the 8 nightclubs, 2 outdoor stages, and I worked there for 5 years or more. I mean, we're talking. I left January 14th of 2000. And so we worked through the whole Y2K thing. I worked day shift where I was the support guy. So I'm the one who loaded all the stuff they needed into. I was a purchaser, procurement guy. So I bought all the batteries, all the new microphones, set all the budgets for those big, large clubs, Rock and Roll Beach Club and the Adventures Club and Mannequins and 8 Tracks and all those great dance clubs. It was fun because I could get people in for free, So, you want to come hang out at the club, I could come on out to Pleasure Island,
Yeah, what a perk.
Yeah. And then I got to stay late. So whenever someone called off, "Hey, I need a pyro guy," I had my pyro card, I would go run pyro because we did pyrotechnics every night. I need someone to run spotlight. I need someone to run, sound in the Rock and Roll Beach Club or whatever. So I was always picking up all these extra shifts because I was what they call level 1 technician, the highest ranking out there. And I could really pretty much do a little bit of everything out there. And I did that until 2000.
So 2000, January 14th.
Not to be specific, but yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks into 2000, you're moving.
We just did the Y2K. I was on the Y2K transition team, making sure that nothing blew up. I had generators on hand. I had all the batteries and flashlights. So we had 14,000 people in the clubs in Pleasure Island, and we were worried that what would happen if Y2K happened and we lost power and all havoc was breaking loose.
Yeah.
So I was on the entertainment team to make that happen. We worked with everybody out there. We worked with Little Richard. We worked with Hootie and the Blowfish. And again, all the Duran Duran, Meatloaf, and, all of the up and comings and down and outs. We did shows with, I used to have landers, just stacks of them that we would work with. My favorite was that night, New Year's Eve, Styx was the headline on the main stage. And those who know me, I'm a big classic rock guy. Styx is one of my most favorite bands. Tommy Shaw is one of my most favorite vocalists of all time. He's also in the band Damn Yankees with Jack Blades and Ted Nugent. I could talk about music all day long. But I got to literally run that. So I did all the load-ins for that show, prepped the whole show, and then they asked me to run Spotlight for that show. So here I am literally with my headset on, with the microphone turned off, singing every Styx song, I could, because it was just one of those nights that you're just like, this is not happening to me. And it was great. So it was nice. It was nice getting done because that life was, I don't get off work until 2 a.m.
Yeah, and you have a family.
You got a
your wife,
family, you
yeah.
got 2 kids. So,
Yeah. It's not sustainable in the long run. As fun as is all the perks of the job, super cool, and something's got to give.
Yeah, for sure.
What was next? What was that next step? What took you away from that?
My run there had come over. I started off as a temp employee and then moved up the ranks to full time. And I did not want to become manager. Didn't want to become a management because it was a step down in pay because you couldn't get all that overtime that I was raking in.
Yeah.
And I left there, and so I started doing some more work for the union. So I was able to get back on the A list for the union, and I did that for quite a while. And then I ended up working for another company. And I ended up at LMG, probably somewhere. I'm trying to think what year that was, but a lot of odds and ends, a lot of bouncing jobs back and forth. But when you're a freelance guy, I mean, I was producing records for friends. I was working on, you name it, anything from high school proms to big corporate events. You get your hands on whatever you can. I had a band, so my band was playing out. We were doing a lot of church music, but a lot of worship music. So I was playing on at church almost every week. I was running concerts and stuff with my fellow musicians, and then being able to then jump into a supervisor role with a company called LMG, and that's where I spent 11 years of my life at LMG, where we were a company based in Orlando. Les Goldberg, the owner, just a very prolific entrepreneur, started with a $5,000 loan from his grandparents and just built this multi-million-dollar juggernaut of a company. And I was a supervisor in the warehouse of the operations department, and we ran all the warehouses. So this is where my operations, logistics type background kind of got molded, because when they say the show must go on, the show must go on. Okay. There's no, oh, sorry, we got to cancel your show. I literally have never seen a show canceled because of something you have to have something, the show must go on. And so when you have that environment, I had a couple dozen employees in my Orlando office that would run. I wasn't a manager. I was just a supervisor at the time. And then I was there for a couple of years, went through a divorce, ended up having a rough road there for a few minutes. But then God led me to a new wife. I got married again to Kelly. Kelly and we're going to celebrate our 21st anniversary here in July. And so that led us to where we felt that we're going to be called to Africa, Zambia, Africa. That's where my parents were missionaries. My biological father, Delbert, and my stepmother, my mom, Sandy. And they lived out there from the time I graduated high school on. They moved out. They were in Congo, and they went to Zambia. And we just felt that we were called to be someplace different. We wanted to make a difference in this world a little bit more than just making a paycheck. Kelly was an accountant, and she had a little bit more freedom. And we just said, do you want to make a dent, or do you want to make a difference? And we decided that we're going to go make a difference. So we loaded up her kids, Charles and William, my boys, through Kelly, and we lived in Africa for a year. I showed up in Africa. My parents had never met my wife.
Wow.
So we showed up in Ndola, Zambia, and my dad saw her for the first time when she got off the plane.
Here she is. Hope you guys get along.
Yeah. You met Kelly. No one can get, if you can't get along with her, you can't get along with anybody.
Yeah.
And so we worked out there for a year. We homeschooled. My wife homeschooled the boys. They got to live an adventure. We got to go on safari. We got to, they rode dirt bikes. Not a lot of TV out there, not a lot of movies. And we built a house for us. We built a recording studio. We built multiple churches. We built an event center. My parents have a pretty large, I'll call it a compound, the New Life Center in Zambia. They have a couple now, one in Livingston and one in Kitwe, where I was. And we just, we built bunkhouses. And so I became a builder in the middle of the jungle because, we had work teams that came. I was shooting videos for local missionaries. I was recording albums with local missionaries, recording local, African church groups on top of, like when we say build something, we literally have to go buy the concrete bags, go to the river and get river sand. And then you hire someone, you hire a team of people then to mix with water, concrete and sand and gravel by hand. And my welder would make brick molds. And they would then make their own brick. So they could make 200 brick a day if they were really on the ball. And my house took 6,000 bricks when we built it. So they literally sat there and I had a whole crew for it, and nothing but make bricks every single day. They dug the foundation by hand. They laid the rebar in by hand. And to kind of watch them do all that and to build this, we actually drew the whole home out on a napkin. And we drew it all out. And then I had a buddy of mine who had a really old version of AutoCAD, draw it together. I actually went down to the local municipality to get a permit. And so I paid money. It's okay, we'll come inspect it. They never came inspected that house. They just took my money and they left. And we built that, and it's still out there to this day. It's still part of my dad's mission out there. And so we were there a year. We did a good job at what we were doing. In the middle of it, my father got sick. He had malaria so much, he was taking, they call it a cure, the medicine for it, but it had quinine in it, and it ended up giving him chemically induced hepatitis C.
Wow.
So he had to leave to go get better in America.
Yeah.
Leaving Kelly, myself, and the boys in the middle of Africa for about 3 months, from October to December, just trying to survive. You know, trying to figure out. They went through a fuel shortage, the refinery plant, and that ran the entire country of Zambia blew up, and that cracked and couldn't work. So they were shipping fuel in from Tanzania and Botswana and Angola, and it was getting hijacked at the border by rebels, and just a crazy, crazy thing. But we survived, and my parents came back, I think, the day Christmas Eve that year.
Oh, wow.
And we had Christmas in my new house with a Christmas tree, the whole 9 yards. It was so funny because there was another missionary that was leaving, and they had a Christmas tree that I bought, but they had no ornaments. So we need ornaments for a tree.
Yeah.
And so I hired one of my carvers, and he carved me the big five, all the animals of the big five Africa, you know, the elephants and the crocodiles and the leopards and giraffes. And he made these wood carvings, and I would drill a hole in them, and I took fishing line and I made little hooks, and the boys made, you know, crafts.
Yeah.
And that was our ornaments for that year. It was just, we still have those ornaments today. It's great.
I was literally about to ask. I bet that's something you'll never get rid of.
Yeah, we have a small Africa tree that we hang up every year. That's got all of our little African ornaments on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was back then you could not, you know, you can buy gifts back then, so we had to bring a lot of the stuff with us. So we ended up like we know we wanted to bring like a Millennium Falcon, so my son Charles could have for Christmas.
Yeah.
The problem is you can't bring them in their own boxes. You have to if you bring them in their own boxes, they think they're coming for resale, and they're going to charge you a tax, a VAT on top of it. So we had to then take all these things, wrap them in cloths. I would cut the picture of the box out, and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and then we would go through customs with, you know, no, these aren't for sale. These are toys for the children. That was the only reason why we could get through with it, because we would just be charged a crazy amount of taxes.
Yeah.
We had to bring enough deodorant for a year, enough shampoo for a year, because, you know, girls like to have fancy stuff, and they don't necessarily sell that in Africa. So we did that for a year, and we built a great little place out there. Kelly ended up getting sick. She got Giardia, and it really became a toll. And Giardia is a pretty nasty disease out there. And in the medicine that you need to kind of help you heal from Giardia is Flagyl. And the side effects of Flagyl are almost as bad as Giardia.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was pretty nuts. So we ended our stay there. We did 17 days in South Africa, Cape Town, South Africa. Got to swim with sharks. Got to be in the great white shark boat where they jump out of the water. Got to swim with penguins and go on safari and some wine country stuff. And so we ended our time out there on a good note. When I came back, I got rehired again back at LMG.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's when they shipped us to, said, I got a position for you, but it's in Las Vegas. And so then our adventure out west began in Las Vegas.
Yeah. And I feel like when you're coming back from, you know, Africa, you probably don't mind going to Vegas and said, I lived in Florida forever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll go to Vegas. We'll be there for a bit. So
yeah, it was. They sent us out there because I was like, Sin City, here we are, just missionaries off the mission field, you know. And it's like, and so they actually sent us out there for 3 days. So Kelly and I flew out there and just kind of stayed and looked around, looked at houses, neighborhoods. And we said, no, we can live out here. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Vegas was lovely outside of the Strip, because the Strip is nice. Obviously, there's all kinds of debauchery that's there if you get yourself into it, but there are more churches out there than I've seen anywhere.
Wow.
There's so many churches out there, and you can get in trouble and you can stay out of trouble really easy when you're out there. So we lived out there almost 8 years, about 7 years plus, almost 8 years, where I started off as a system manager, and then I became the manager of the Las Vegas location. And then they made me director for the entire operation of the company. So I was managing the Las Vegas office, the Orlando office, the Nashville office, the Phoenix office. And so I think I had 5 warehouses total. Eventually they said, listen, you're a director, you need to be back at headquarters. And then they shipped us back to Orlando, which is good because Kelly's parents are getting a little bit older. I wanted to be closer to my two, because my two kids with my first wife, Taylor and Dell, are here in Orlando. I want to make sure I was kind of closer to them. They would come visit us, and I was traveling a lot back then. We're talking, I was on the road 2 to 3 weeks a month. You know, I was missing concerts and recitals. I was missing all kinds of stuff. So I was just gone because they had 5 warehouses to run. So I was, beep bopping around. We opened up multiple offices back then. So I had to then kind of make sure that logistically everything was dialed in, designing warehouses and processes for that. So being in that company for as long as I was, that's what kind of built my entire operations mindset.
Yeah.
You have to have a process, got to have an SOP to survive.
How many people did you have under you during that time?
When I left, I had about 110 employees that I was over.
Yeah. And without those processes,
No,
you're not getting them going for anything.
No.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is because, if you look at through all my entire career, I had to manage multiple people in Africa. But we're not talking about, seasoned, logical, Western people. You're talking about people who live in the bush that don't have shoes.
Yeah.
And every person takes a different management style and technique. Everyone has a different need in their life. I would have employees say, "Hey, boss, can you not pay me today? Because if that money comes home, my wife's going to take it and she's going to want to do something else with it. Then so can you keep it for a couple of weeks? And then I want to buy new roof panels for my house because they have those big corrugated roof panels on their mud huts.
Yeah.
And so I need to buy 3 of them. I'm going to save up enough money to buy 3 of them, and then can you pay me then?" And so trying to help people manage their money. People would get sick, and they got malaria. They'd be down from malaria. And what's weird is that I could catch malaria and I could take the antidote, and within 3 days I'm fine.
Yeah.
But out there, even though the antidote is so cheap, it's not necessarily easy to get a hold of. You got to have someone in your family that's got to go get it, or you got to take a bus to go get it. And so people would just die from malaria when all they had to do was go get, they call it a cure. I remember one of our friends, his name is Charles Mulamena. I call him Charles Smiles because he knows like 9 languages, big teeth, African, one of my best friends out there. And his aunt, her name was Given, Mama Given, and she was in that church one day. And I go, "Well, where's Given?" And he looks at me, "Oh, no, she's going to die." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Oh, she's got malaria. She's going to die." I said, "Well, where is she right now?" She says, "She's at home." I said, "Have you taken her to the hospital?" He says, "Yeah, they're no help." Because the hospital, they don't provide any services. They just try and keep you comfortable until you die. And so I reached in my pocket and I grabbed every dollar I had back then, which was probably 100,000 kwacha, which was like $50. And I said, "Go take her, give her to a private hospital." So he got a cab, took her to the private hospital, and it probably cost me $100 to have her rehydrated and treated. And she ended up, surviving.
Yeah.
But we would have to bring her chicken noodle soup because they wouldn't feed her. So what the family doesn't feed them, they don't eat, right?
Yeah.
So it's a different world out there. And so we were able to help her live. Unfortunately, she later died of AIDS, but she still was able to get
Prolonged
through this,
life.
but she prolonged life. So it's just real seeing that struggle of people. But I was able to manage all these different people. And then you show back up to America, and now you're managing, you got the Gen Xers, you got the Gen Zers, you got the boomers that I work with. And so everyone's a little bit different. Everyone requires a little bit more, some more entitled, some up than others. In the old days, guys my age, they'd be on the road for 200, 300 days a year. And they wouldn't bat an eye because they're making bank. Because they knew that I'm going to make big 6 figures and then I'm going to be able to bank and retire early. And then I had other guys that were younger. Like one of my LED guys, he literally, he was like, "I don't want to work tomorrow." It's like, "I just don't feel like working tomorrow." It's like, "What are you talking about?" "Well, I've had enough work for this week." Like he didn't care. He was making good money. Like, you're making $50 an hour. That's good money back then. It's like, and he was more about quality of life than he was about the dollar.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why all my buddies were divorced and he was a little happier, but it's just a different world. So, but being able to manage all of these different types of people really helped me groom my philosophy on management and being part of a big corporation where everyone was kind of a number. There was a time during the recession, 2007, 2008, I was like, "Listen, there's not a lot of jobs out there. So if you're not going to do your job, someone else will."
Yeah.
And we would treat people like I didn't like it. I just didn't like the way we treated people like a commodity. And I brought up to our HR, so we have an issue. So the problem we're going to run into is the cream of the crop rise to the top, right? So the people that stayed, that we kept, are the best of the best, but we're still treating them poorly.
Yeah.
And so the second the market loosens up, we're going to lose the cream of the crop. So we have to learn how to build a better culture. So when the market loosens up, they're not going to want to jump ship the first chance they get. So we really got a chance to kind of do some of that. So fast forward to Hole in the Wall, that's the philosophy that we've built here, is that we don't want to treat people like they're a commodity. We want to treat them like family. So when they do get offered, and they have been offered more money than we can pay, they stay because of the culture of the company. And managing each person just a little bit differently allows them to feel like they're not just some number, but they're really people that are part of our family.
Yeah.
Did you know that there are over 140 million homes in the U.S.? 97% of them have walls and ceilings that are built using drywall. The drywall repair industry is simply enormous, valued at over $13 billion a year. We're Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair, and for years we have been perfecting the art of repairing drywall, developing and refining our systems, and strengthening our brand. Our business model is simple, scalable, and easy to learn. We believe it's a real game changer. We are successful drywall repair pros who decided to take our repair business to a higher level, growing both our franchise training and support to industry-leading standards. You'll benefit from our vast experience helping your franchise hit the ground running and achieve success quickly. We'll give you access to our marketing team that has created strategic programs designed to get your phone ringing and booking new business fast. Join a fast-growing leader in an exciting dynamic segment of the home service industry by franchising with Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair. Start building your own business and securing your own financial future today.
To me, through everything you've just talked about, you've developed that emotional, like the emotional intelligence, whatever they call it, the EQ side. I know there has to be some in you innately since you were little to survive in all the different areas you've been through and the environment you've been through, but developing that and bringing that through, and it goes outside of any culture you can be in, and it showcases through the Hole in the Wall how it treats everyone. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone walk through the halls here and just look upset or look angry. I'm sure there are moments, right? But
probably
for the most part, everyone seems to be happy here. And it's something you don't see. Like, I go into various businesses all over Florida, all over the country, really, and it's not always that case. You see the people that are ready to pop out or ready to cause a big issue, and it goes a long way. It goes countries away, as you just talked about.
It does, yeah. And again, that's the culture of the company, is that, we're built on camaraderie and innovation. We're friends with, I know families of all of our employees. I try to be very, very hands-on. I'm not as much as I used to be because I got another layer between us and them. But, I care generally about all my employees. And we hold them all with an open hand. If someone comes to me and says, boss, I got to go, I got to leave, the answer is, God bless you. If you need anything, let me know. We've had employees that have left the company and started their own companies. And we help them in their new companies. We rent them equipment. If jobs that we're not going to do, we need to pass down. When we have an employee that gets terminated, they always try and hire them, which doesn't really work out somehow because they got fired here for a reason. But so I have no animosity towards those people. But being able to provide a culture that we work together, we learn together, we fail together, and we don't point the finger at one person. When someone else has an issue, the cavalry shows up and we come running to help. Yeah. So you're not just stuck on an island. Same with the franchises. They're out there stuck, a phone call away. And we can fly someone to the location if we had to, just to help them get through a situation. They're in good hands here at Hole in the Wall.
Yeah, everyone has their area. Everyone has their expertise. And through Bill's episode, we talked a little bit about how he is happy to get out of the way when it's not his area. But I know for a fact that if you had an issue that you couldn't get through on your expertise area, Bill will be right there with you, whether it's helpful or not. He'll be right there with you to try, right? And that's invaluable.
It's just they say that the one ship that can't stay afloat is a partnership, and for some reason, we're so uniquely different in so many ways. We're yin and yang. Yeah, that I don't want to do this alone, and he couldn't do it alone. Yeah, and so it works out. When I have an issue, he's whatever you need, I'm here, and vice versa, and it works out. It works. And listen, there's times neither of us know what we're doing. We just kind of scratch our heads and we just kind of pray through it. So being able to just kind of talk through that with, your buddy, your partner, someone who we started off as partners and turned into best friends, it's kind of neat to kind of see how that evolution go.
Yeah. And to be at this length into it, and we'll get to how you transitioned into Hole in the Wall, but to be at this length into it and to still sit down every week and record a podcast together, to go out to lunch all the time together and not want to run away from each other. I'm sure there's moments, but
Sure.
that's everything. To
Sure.
still have that good camaraderie, to still have that almost brotherhood there is really, really cool to see. And it's inspiring for those on the outside who want that. It can happen. Like you said, the adage of the partnership can't continue to float isn't always true. There's exceptions to the rule, and you can get there with the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. And he hears me when my eyes roll, you know,
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you roll your eyes, you know, it's like, it's all right. And listen, we don't always agree. But I tell you what he has done is he knows his strengths and he knows my strengths. And when we hit on something that's each other's, we don't question it. Run with your strength.
Yep.
Like I let him manage the entire fleet. I don't want to worry about changing tires and brakes and oil changes, changing out tail lights and stuff. I need someone else to manage that stuff. That's his wheelhouse all day long. He built a log. He's got all the maintenance logs. We keep track of all the engines we bought, and that's all him. And in converse, he lets me take care of the rest of the stuff. You know, he's the visionary. I'm the implementer.
Yep.
We trained the great general manager, Mike Elliott. And so then we've now delegated a ton of those things to him now. Those frees me up to run the franchise division more. So that yin and yang, it's a definitely a good partnership that, you know, most people didn't quite see. That it's pretty fun.
Yeah. So you're in Vegas, you're living there. How long were you out there for?
Over 7 years, almost 8 years, we were out there. Yeah. So, and then when I came back to Orlando, I only worked for LMG another 2 years.
So 10-year-ish total
After
Africa.
After Africa, yeah.
So probably close to 20, 21 years total with LMG.
No, probably more like 11 or 12 years total.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So you're out here. What was that push out moment where you go, I need something different? Was that a internal company? Hey, James, time to go. I have a hard time believing it would be something like that. Or was this your self choice of I want something new?
It was kind of a self choice. When I came back, the corporate structure had shifted a little bit. The gray hair that I carry around in my beard is not from my 4 kids. It's from the entertainment industry. And it was a good transition. It was one of those, they were giving me a pretty good severance package. I got like 14 weeks of severance between vacations. It was a very good parting of the ways. I still am friends to a lot of people there today, but I wanted out of the entertainment industry. I think I just run its course, at least for a while. I've done nonprofit work with entertainment. I've done corporate. I've done rock and roll. It's like, you know what? Let me find something else. And that's when my best friend, Dan Myers, who was a CPA, and I've known him for years, he says, listen, I got a guy I want you to talk to. He's got this side business. He's got this business. He's growing, and I really think he might be able to help him. And so then he introduced me to Bill. And then it was neat because I got to ride along with Bill. We had breakfast. I realized that back then, like from my very first meeting, if it was Bill's drywall company, I wouldn't have been here.
Yeah.
But I saw Hole in the Wall as a household name, as a nationwide name. Didn't know how to do it. Didn't know how to I've never done a franchise. I never managed, small satellite offices like that. And but I saw it as something. And then we did ride-alongs. And then I actually came on board in late 13 as a consultant. And I wrote his employee handbook. At that time, we were transitioning Bill from DeMent painting and then DBAing Hole in the Wall as a true-flood C Corp LLC Hole in the Wall. Moved all the employees from 1099 to W-2, built the background check process, started building kind of the infrastructure for being a real company because we had a few employees back then. And he was making okay money, but we needed to figure out how we're going to grow it from where we were to how it can be something bigger. And we did it. So I came on full time in 2014, right? Yeah, 2014. And then we started off in his house, met at the corner desk, his bedroom office, and we weren't there for very long because that next spring break, holiday season, you got people sick or they're on vacation, and like, Bill, your wife is sick in bed right there. I'm not going to be in this office, and I would leave. And that's when we kind of found our warehouses, and we just started kind of little by little kind of growing who we are today.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can see being stuck in that bedroom is a quick, surefire way to sink the partnership. And,
It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. So when I came on board, we brought Dan Myers in as well as a partner, stakeholder in the company. Bill, God bless him. I mean, he literally brought Dan and I on as partners. Obviously, he had majority stakeholder because he saw what we could bring to the table. Dan had a financial outlook on things that even more than me. He was always the money guy, and I was always the ops guy, and Bill was always the visionary.
Yeah.
And so we ran that, as that team for a year. I mean, Dan was a silent partner. He didn't get paid. He had a little bit of equity in the company, but that was about it. I mean, out of how many years we were together before he passed away, we paid one distribution out in all those times. It wasn't like this was a lucrative job for, to be on the board.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately we lost him about 3 or so years ago to cancer. But if it wasn't for the relationship that we had with Dan, Bill and I, we wouldn't have met some of the other key partners. That's where we ended up writing contracts and making sure we had all the partnership agreements down pat. So when something unfortunately did happen, we already had the groundwork in place for Bill and I to be able to buy his widow out, to make sure that we could keep running the company smoothly because of all the lessons that we had learned throughout the years. We were able to make sure that we were ready for when that time comes. Because all of us could get hit by a bus tomorrow. We're not promised tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So you had to run things with there's no guarantees in life, and thank God we did. And Kathy, his wife, she's moved on and she's doing very well. And so, it's just neat that we were able to kind of move past that. Of course, Dan and I we're best buddies, and Bill and I miss him every day. But he would be very proud of where we are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the reason you both are together here, right? He put that puzzle piece together. He saw something that probably not a lot of people saw at that time and was able to connect those two portions and help you get to here.
Yeah. I mean, Bill and I would have never met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was talking to Bill, he said when he brought you in, he didn't fully understand what you had in your back pocket, what an operations guy was. And then you started that first week referring to it as here's my crew. They're out and they're doing their thing. And we need this, this, and this, and started just developing processes that just weren't in place to make that fluid transition. And of course, that comes from your background, right? Mm-hmm. You are in the midst of all of these large organizations that have they don't have the fortune to pause.
Right.
If you're painting a house, you can pause for a day if something horrible happens and pick up the next day. In the shows, like you said, the show must go on. So to me, you brought that mentality into what became Hole in the Wall. Because at that point, it was still, as you said, it was DeMent paint, DBA. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But what was that first month, few months, first year like? What were your goals? What did you come in thinking?
Well, I wanted to kind of learn the process, the lay of the land. I knew what it was to do drywall, but what did we do? What did we do well? We already had one other employee, Gigi. She was kind of our bookkeeper / office person. She was part-time back then, but she would answer the phone and she would do estimates. And I wanted to kind of just, what was the expectation of the crew? What was the expectation from our customers? How were we landing jobs? How were we tracking the jobs that we did land? I mean, we were so exposed back then. I mean, like the entire crew was sharing one Google Calendar.
Wow.
And if one person accidentally deleted a job, that job was deleted.
Yep.
And so he talks about the process. Well, I immediately saw this as an issue. And so we started, we had a Gmail account back then. It's like, what are we doing using a Gmail account? We're not doing, no. So you already have a domain. Yeah. Okay. Well, so we fixed that in short order because it was all about being professionalism. The crews were usually wearing the white Sherwin-Williams painter shirts when they're on job sites. And I'm like, no, we got to wear 100% our uniforms, And we just kind of started. We didn't even have logo trucks back then. A lot of the guys were using their own vehicles. Scott Plemons had his own minivan that he was using for his work vehicle back then. And the idea was pretty quickly we wanted to get to where we could then ramp up because you can't scale with just one or two employees. You got to scale with lots of employees. Yeah. And so that's when we started building that process, getting every little thing kind of dialed in. I tried to get onthewall.com back then, wasn't available. We got the toll-free number probably within the first couple of years. And that was, trying to figure out what toll-free number we wanted to use was a challenge. Mm-hmm. The 844 no holes. And we went through 800, all 800 numbers are gone. And it was like Bill's out doing a site visit one day. and he texts me or calls me. I got it. How about no holes? Like NOHOO. Hey, that's 7 letters. All right, let me go see what's available. And I found 844 no holes. I'm like, that's it. And
Jump on it while you
jump right
can.
on while I can. Couldn't get a hold of holewall.com back then. Yeah. Then we just started trademarking logos and trademarking, the name. Hole in the Wall itself is now the words Hole in the Wall is ours, and just kind of growing through this process because we couldn't even think about franchising until we had our IP dialed in.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are like, hey, I want a franchise. It's like, great. Well, it's really multi-phases. One is, do you have what it takes to even open a franchise? And once you get the franchise open, you got to sell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all of these different parts didn't come easy, but we started at ground zero my first week here with in mind that one day we will be a nationwide company. And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah. I made the joke to Bill that I'm excited for the day that's Hole in the Wall Japan sells and we get out there, and it just really has the capability to go anywhere because of what the work has been done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bill has gone through the years of trial and error, figuring out what works, what doesn't, how you should do it. You've gone through the years of figuring out, all right, well, here's our Loctite process, because I imagine the week you came in, you discovered the training probably was not where it needed to be.
Well, the training was Bill doing the job in the field. And by the time I got there, Bill wasn't doing jobs in the field.
Yeah.
So now we're relying on the technicians in the field to train the new technicians. And it's like the telephone game. The farther you get from the origin, the farther you get from quality. So we had to kind of like, stop it. Let's get back to the beginning and get back to the basics. And so everyone always knows, like Bill gives a 5-minute paint lesson that has revolutionized everyone who takes that class here. It's 5 minutes, how to cut, how to roll, and it's a quick lesson, but it changes how you load a paintbrush. It changes how you cut, the edges in on a wall. And everyone goes through that same class. Yeah. So there's consistency. Because again, if you're a franchise, a Big Mac is a Big Mac no matter where you are in the country. Yeah. So you want to make sure there's consistency. So I need to make sure that all the franchise locations have the same recipe to make their own Big Mac.
Yeah, and even with a Big Mac, though, you have, like you're saying, you're getting the ingredients from McDonald's. You're getting the fry cook. You're getting all this. There's one way you can possibly do it, whereas you'll get bad habits coming in from painting, right? Everyone has their unique style. This works better. I'll never do it that way. And starting fresh is the only real way you can.
Yeah, that's kind of why we have very good success with the non-drywall people coming on board, because I can teach you process. I can teach you how to do it the whole new way. I can't retrain you as easily. I can't, and we hire for character typically. I'm looking for people who have character in life that I can trust sending people into Mrs. Smith's house when she's by herself. I can't train character. I can train drywall.
Yeah, and the value add to me for Hole in the Wall is not necessarily the hole being fixed, as weird as it may sound coming out, right?
Yeah.
But it's the reliability, it's the consistency, it's everything else around it. It's, you can trust when you go in the house, all's good. It's going to look better than when you came in there. That when you call, you're going to get an estimate back, and it's not going to be 3 weeks from the day and, I don't know, I got to wait for this. You might not be able to get out to the job depending on the week, right? You guys get busy, but you will get back to them. They know what the process is, and that is what you're saying, the character aspect of it.
We honor our work. If something goes wrong, we got a year warranty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because we wanted, we talk about because there's a couple other franchises that do in drywall. There's the two others, really two main ones. And it's like, well, how do I differentiate ourselves from these other drywall franchises? And the answer is, I don't know, because I don't know anything about those other two franchises. Yeah. I know their names. I know their colors, which I don't like their branding at all. I love our branding. Obviously, I'm a little biased. But, but what's funny is we just sold a territory in North Carolina yesterday. And that person had vetted the other competitors. And when he saw our 2-week training, we just did 2-week training with our 3 new locations, Philadelphia, Boise, Idaho, and St. Louis, Missouri. And they ended their training at this person's Meet the Team Day. So he got to meet the new owners and talk through the 2 weeks of training we just gave him. And then he divulged to me later that day that one of our competitors basically says, yeah, you have to hire a drywall expert, and we only send you to class for 3 days. And I was like, really? He said, yeah. So one of the main reasons that he liked Hole in the Wall over other people is that He liked us because Bill and I are kind of good guys. He saw the quality of the people that we were awarding franchises to and our support staff. But then the training that we give, I mean, no one's doing what we're doing. No one's spending 2 weeks of training because it's not just drywall techniques. It's how to run the business, how to run your marketing, how to run the CRM, how to give estimates, how to, go networking. We've got a whole sales coach. I'm sure Bill talked about Sean that's helping people, how to sell and how to go present yourself for events. And that's something that no one else is bringing to the table.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a massive difference between licensing the name and then licensing the organization. And you guys it's everything. Everything you're doing here in Orlando, it's pick up and go. In Boise, it's pick up and go wherever you're going to.
Yep.
And it's not let me start fresh and get this drywall expert that's over here that does it a different way. Again, back to the painting techniques. Everyone has their own way to do it. So now there's no consistency throughout the brand, which completely eliminated in Hole in the Wall because there is consistency.
Yeah. There's autonomy. Each owner can do a few things on their own, but why would you deviate from the process that has been working so well? So
Provably.
It's provably. It's like when you got people that want to go off script a little bit, it's like, well, why would you do that? Because this script has been working and we'll grow the script. We'll evolve if you need it to evolve, but don't just turn your back on the script because this is a proven session. And when they do, they tend to have an issue.
Yeah.
But so being able to kind of come in and show a new owner, potential new owner at the time, the existing owners are coming in. It was pretty exciting to kind of meet. We all went to dinner together. And so we got a chance to really kind of pick their brain. Him and his wife were here, and it was neat to be able to do that. And then, of course, the next day, the full Dog and Pony show here. You guys show up. All of our staff is here. He got to see the support network. He got to walk through our entire presentation, see a demo of Scott Plemons. Actually, his wife smashed a hole in the wall, and Scott, repaired that hole, in front of our eyes, in the course of 20 minutes. It's a pretty impressive thing when you do it, So it was a no-brainer for him, and I'm pretty excited to have that the new North Carolina location up and running soon.
Yeah, it's super, super exciting to see and hear. And I always, a little cheerleader in the background, you'd say, we got this. Yeah, of course you got that. Look, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But when we look at your process through, you come in, it's you, Bill, and Dan running, and you're building out operations. You're making sure everything's flowing. At what point do you start having fun with it, naming things? Because you guys have the 3 C's, you have your different trademarks. You obviously brought me in at a certain point to start doing videos that you can reference and utilize.
Yeah.
You have Trish, who's here, Marketing Smarty Pants, elevating the brand. At what point does it move from almost Band-Aids for certain things that you viewed as we need to fix this to now we're elevating this?
That is a good question. I will tell you that being able to, as we were, I've always been a catchphrase. I'm a junkie for quality logos. I'm a junkie for catchphrases. It's got to be something that's replicable in silhouette. That's real easy. The rule of 3 is big to me, or at least 4. So when we were kind of walking through our process, I'm like, we need to have a link. And the guys are, well, we got to prep all the jobs. We got to make sure that we're do the job. So we started talking through it, and I go, well, that's the 3 C's. What are you talking about? Cover, which is prep. Complete, which is do the job. And then you clean it up after yourself, right? It's like, well, that makes sense. So we'd shoot on that for probably 3 or 4 months. And I was like, no, that's it. That is our motto, the 3 C's, cover, complete, clean. And then we always joke the 4th C is collect, But so being able to figure that out. And then when we brought Trish on, we wanted to find a catchphrase. We would have all these catchphrases like fix the hole in your wall without putting a hole in your wallet. Or it's not just a hole in the wall, it's a hole in your home. And, all these different, but they were really so long. It's hard to put that on a bumper sticker, And then one day Trish goes like, love your walls again. I was like, well, I like that. And then Bill's like, that'll fit in our logo. So we do love your walls again inside the circle. And all of a sudden, boom, we now have a trademark, love your walls again trademark. And so as you put the pieces together little by little, as you move forward, the building blocks really start to show themselves. And then we actually had so much written down, but it was like in a Google Drive over here and a hard drive over there. And we wanted to build our operations process. And we started working through the beginning phases of franchising. You got to build an operations manual. The company we hired built us one, but it wasn't adequate. It wasn't who we are. So then we hired Bonnie gives her a manager. She came in and she took all the documentation that we had and she built this big Bonnie book, we call it. It's just now, it's now an integral part of our training. And then she would say, okay, well, here's what you have here. And she would point out all the gaps that we were missing. So, oh, no, I got that. And then we'd go find that file that we had misplaced, 6 years ago. And here it is, or we have to go write a training to fill in that gap. And then we had to build PowerPoints. And then, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I really wanted a platform to make this training really pop. And that's when we started investing in Trainual. And we spent good 3+ years just inputting data into an online portal, creating, different roles and creating different, access points. So managers have access to certain data, but technicians have access to other data, shooting videos and just writing out every little thing we could inside of a training portal. This way, no matter where you are in the country, no matter what time of day it is, you have access to hole-in-the-wall level training. And so being able to, but that took years to do, and frankly, Bonnie took 3/4 of a year to help us build the Bonnie book, just to get that up and running. But as we grow, you see little things that we need to incorporate, we need to implement into it. So like our trucks themselves, here's a great story because we were just, Bill's got the blue pickup truck and he had a little magnet on it. And then we were buying these old plumbing trucks from local people. We still have several of them. And it was just a static hole-in-the-wall circle, not textured, in the whole 9 yards, and with Wall Drywall Repair and a couple little key things on it. They looked fine. Yeah. But we wanted to buy a newer vehicle. We wanted to have it wrapped. I went to multiple designers, and then I came across Andy Lonzak with Precision Auto Wraps, which is called now. And I said, Andy, I'm struggling. I need a wrap for this vehicle. And by the end of the day, he sent me his mock-up. And that mock-up was it was the same logo, but just different. Like he made the logo really big and kind of pushed the corner off the page kind of thing. And we loved it so much that all our vehicles that way, and we refreshed the entire brand. So all of our business cards changed, our website changed, all because of partnering with somebody. Because again, as if you're a fan of the podcast, don't do business in a vacuum. I'm a smart guy. Bill's a smart guy, but you're better at video than I am. Trish is better at marketing than I am. Andy's better at graphics and at logoing vehicles than I am. So bringing all of these experts that elevate your brand, and it's not very expensive to do, and to just get elevated without trying to kill yourself as a solopreneur doing it.
Yeah, and the consistency it brings goes so much outside of it's a nice truck, it's a new truck, it's functional. Super important. You need functional, you need consistency for knowing where the drywall putty knife is in the van, right? As you switch through it. But for the consumer to see, oh, hey, someone pulled up out front of my house. They get out, they're bright orange. They have everything that Hole in the Wall has become every time, rinse and repeat. And now this is across the country, builds a long-term brand lift and recall and allows you to continue to grow and adds benefit for every franchise that comes in because it's the same over and over again.
Yeah, and we want to create a standard for the drywall industry. We want to set the standard. It's flattering to me when I look at other people's websites and I see our pictures and our lingo on their websites. Yeah. Of course, I wish they wouldn't do it, but like I know at least they see something in us. And what's funny is if you go and search online, there are a lot of companies that are advertising out there as drywall experts, and it's not a real company. Yeah. It's just an advertising agency, or it could be Angie Leads or Home Advisor that lit up a business, and so it's just a lead generation revenue. So multiple companies in Orlando even are there, and then there's no about us, there's no pictures of the owners, there's no personal stories or personal testimonies, because they gather the data and then they just sell it to somebody else. So they show up in unlogoed vehicles, and you don't even know if that's the company hired or not.
Yeah, you have no idea who's coming into your home.
No idea. So with us, you go to our website, you see pictures of crews, you hear about our stories. You see our Facebook page is got lit up with all kinds of before and after pictures, and you get to meet, our Fletcher and Oliver. You get to see us having Thanksgiving dinner together. You get to see us, with testimonials and stuff. So we're a real team. And so when we light up a new location, it's the same thing. Every new location out there gets that same hand holding and that same kit gloves type build out. So they go into their communities ready to rock.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just makes so much sense coming from both your and Bill's background, the different aspects you both add together into this beast that has become what Hole in the Wall is. And it shows as you continue to develop the franchisees that are buying in and their feedback and their excitement of what you guys have worked into Hole in the Wall.
Yeah.
And as it continues to grow, I know there will be areas that become reinforced and become stronger. And from Bill's portion of this and your portion of this, you both don't have the mentality of this is what it is, this is what it will be forever. It is as new things come up, we might iterate, we might change, and that's okay because we should, and that's what allows you to get to here.
Yeah.
So as I hear the new franchisees coming in, it's always the excitement. It's always that you meet them on the meet the team day, and whoa, the big eyes looking around, taking everything in, exciting. It's just very cool from the other end to see that happen.
What's really neat is that, they all trust the process and the system, but I get texts every day from my owners going, hey, could we do something like this? Would you be opposed to us doing this? Hey, have you seen this technique? And they're always asking us, now they're still following the rules, but, go innovate.
Yeah.
So yes, Bill and I worked hard together, but now we're building a team of experts that we're all growing each other at a more, like at a faster pace.
Yeah.
And so we're, going to be lining up our Facebook group for just the owners, and we're going to be, so we can pass ideas around, super fast. There's text chains. This last, tribe of owners came through the 3 owners. They're already on group chats and they're celebrating each other's wins. And one guy got his truck yesterday. The other guy landed a 20-hole project, out of the gate. And so everyone's high-fiving each other virtually. And so the camaraderie of knowing you're not in business by yourself, you have a team of people around you that want you to succeed and support you. And then as we grow, then that grows from there, whatever, we have 7 owners now plus us, and we're going to grow into 20 plus owners by the end of the year. And then maybe next year, we'll have 50 owners or more within the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And so now we've got such a great tribe of people that are all looking for the whole brand to succeed. And it's going to just take off on its own. I have an idea what could happen, but I'm not too full of myself to know that things couldn't be even better.
Yeah. But as we've talked about, it's the fully being in, there's no way but forward here, go. And it's just a great mentality to be around, especially for all the franchisees that are coming in, because any business there's uncertainty, you're changing your life. As you mentioned, some of them are coming from IT backgrounds. They're coming from backgrounds that aren't home services.
Yeah.
So to come into this and have that mentality around of let's go, everything's excited. We have the camaraderie. We have people to access. You and Bill are accessible for all of them.
Absolutely.
And that is so needed up in front, just in the beginning of everything that's going on. So I was going to ask you a second ago, what's next? But you nailed that.
Yeah. Well, big dreams.
Big dreams and confidence in it. And it's very cool to have latched on and snuck my way into to living here.
You can call it sneaking. I recruited you.
Yeah, I know.
I saw what you do. And I'm like, nope, I need you.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you listening to the what does it look like if I interview you and Bill? Because I think it's just value. It's just value. Whether you guys want to admit it or not, you have such a history and such a story that selfishly I wanted to listen to. So I appreciate you doing this. I think it was a great episode.
I agree. Thank you.
And
appreciate you.
with that, I'm going to hit the big fun button.
We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.